You're listening to Beyond Wellness Radio, bringing you the cutting edge in health, biohacking, and sports performance. Stay up to date and listen anywhere and anytime on your computer, tablet, or smartphone by subscribing on iTunes. Catch your host, Dr. Justin Marchegiani, as he answers your burning health questions as well as interviews from world-renowned guest experts. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.
Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio. Feel free and head over to beyondwellnessradio.com where you can access our full podcast transcriptions. While you're there, you can also sign up for our thyroid and female hormone video series. This series goes into the root cause of why your hormones are out of balance. While you're there, you can also schedule a functional medicine consult with Dr. Justin, myself, where we'll dig deeper into the root cause of your health challenges. Feel free and think of sharing this podcast with at least one person. This podcast grows by people sharing it. Sharing is caring. If you can think of one person that can benefit from this information, please feel free and share it. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you subscribe on iTunes. You can also click below the video or podcast where you'll see the iTunes review button and leave us a review. You can also sign up for the newsletter at beyondwellnessradio.com where you'll get updates before anyone else. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. Hey there, it's Dr. J. Evan, how are we doing today, man?
I am doing great. What about you? I never ask you how you're doing. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're actually stepping it up for all of the listeners today. I just got a awesome new microphone based on your suggestions. So we're just trying to get the quality better. We got a better Wi-Fi connection at the office, 200 megabytes per second. It's like, man, I'm cooking with fire here.
Yeah, totally. Cooking your brain too, if you ask some people.
But if I'm cooking, it's going to be a high-quality saturated fat with a high smoke point, right?
Totally.
I'm not going to use any of this canola oil or olive oil crap.
Definitely not.
Awesome. Olive oil is good, but it's better for salad dressing, folks. I'm not dissing olive oil.
Yeah, just cold use only.
Cold use only. Yeah, absolutely. Well, on that note, we were kind of chatting pre-show that we wanted to chat about blood sugar. Blood sugar is a super important issue, and we kind of have like the blood sugar functional imbalances, which is what a lot of people deal with. And then we have the extremes where we have hypoglycemia, where people, they get dizzy, they get lightheaded, they may even pass out or have, what's called syncope in the medical world. Or the other extreme, which is diabetes, where our blood sugar goes super high and it's creating all of this glycation and free radical damage and all of the deleterious effects that come with diabetes.
Yep. Yeah, blood sugar issues, they're not only for people that have diabetes or that have pre-diabetes. I mean, for people listening, if you consider yourself even extremely healthy or you're an athlete or you're somebody that uses your brain, you're a high-functioning business executive, blood sugar is just as, if not more important to you as well.
Absolutely. Again, it's like blood sugar goes too high, it creates a stress response because of the fact that it starts coating all of our proteins in our blood vessels with sugar. This is called glycation. And this glycation is kind of the same thing that happens if you go to the restaurant and get creme brulee. You pull out the blowtorch and you just kind of crisp that top layer of the creme brulee and it turns brown. That's kind of what's happening in your arteries when you have this whole glycation process going. So when next time you're eating a whole bunch of sugar, picture yourself pulling out a blowtorch. And again, this isn't like a one-time thing. This is more of a chronic thing, right? If we're healthy, our insulin receptors are going to be sensitive and we're going to be able to pull that blood sugar into our cell. But the more those cells become numb, right? The more you go and play ding-dong ditch to the neighbor, they're just not going to open up the door after you ring like the fifth time, right?
Totally. Great analogy as always. Yeah, insulin resistance is huge. And how do I know if I'm insulin resistant? Well, I tell people if you go look in the mirror and you're overweight, you're likely insulin resistant. So that's probably my best way of identifying. Obviously, you could do lab testing and stuff like that. But what about you, Dr. J? Would you say that's a safe bet there?
Yeah, I would actually say off the bat, your blood sugar meter is right around your tummy. So for men, you want it below 40 inches. For women, you want it below 35 inches around your tummy. Also, get a blood sugar meter. I'm going to do a live test. So as we're recording, I'm actually going to pull up my blood sugar, and I will share it with all the listeners.
Okay, so while you're doing that, we'll do the caveat that it obviously depends on what you ate, if you did eat breakfast, if you're fasted, things like that. But typically, I like to see people around, I'd say 70s starting to get low, but I'd say somewhere close between the 70 and 80 range for blood sugar. Obviously, if you're above 100, then you start getting into the pre-diabetic state and things like that. All right.
Yeah, I just pricked myself. If you guys heard me scream in the background, that's what it was. All right, yeah, so I agree. I think somewhere between 75, I would even go up to 90. I mean, if you're doing a fasting blood sugar, a healthy stress response can cause your blood sugar to accumulate. All right, I'm getting a reading right on it now. Evan's seeing me. 3 seconds. All right, so right now my blood sugar is actually a little bit high. It's 110. Now,
What did you eat for breakfast?
I just had 4 eggs for breakfast. Yep. So typically you want to be, I ate about 4 hours ago. It could possibly be when my blood sugar is this high right now. I just had 4 eggs and some bulletproof coffee. So I had absolutely 0 carbs. It could be one, I did have some potato chips last night that I typically don't have. Or number 2, it's time for me to eat and my adrenals are kind of ramping up some adrenaline. I mean, I ate around 8 o'clock this morning. So it's been about almost 5 hours. So 110 typically is a little high for me, blood sugar wise. The problem with a blood sugar meter like this, you don't really know if it's dietary induced or if it's because your adrenals are ramped up. Like if you got a little bit of stress, you're doing some things, that cortisol can push your blood sugar up a little bit. And it may not be a bad thing if your body's utilizing it for energy, right? So you got to look at it from the perspective of 1, what are you eating? 2, do a functional glucose tolerance, meaning eat your meal, see how it goes 1, 2, and 3 hours after a meal. And then leave one of these on your desk and just do it periodically throughout the day. The biggest problem is you don't get a window into insulin because you may be pumping out a whole bunch of insulin to drop that blood sugar back down. Insulin's job is to pull the sugar into the cell. Now, if someone's at 110 like myself, but is pumping out twice the amount of insulin that I am, that's a problem. So people can overcompensate by having more insulin to pull that blood sugar in. So the biggest issues with these, they don't look at insulin and they don't look at cortisol levels. If we get a blood sugar meter that looks at insulin and cortisol, man, that is amazing. I would just get one of these for every one of my patients.
Totally. Yeah, so you talked about being high for a couple of reasons. Also, you're standing up right now, you're moving around, you're excited about talking. So, I mean, you are kind of rising to the occasion. That may be somewhat of a natural response that you've just measured.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at a standing desk here. I just, we're talking, we're jazzing, I'm moving as we talk. When we get these podcasts on video, people will see how annoying I look bouncing back and forth. So yeah, you can get some of that sugar up there. I wish you had a meter so we could do yours. We could have a comparison.
I know. I need to buy one. Isn't there a website that you recommended where they basically just hand out free glucometers like it's nothing?
Yeah, they totally. There's one. I'm gonna pull it up right now on my Gmail. Give me 1 second. I'll do it live for everyone so they get access to it. Cool. Yeah, the website is choicefreestyle.com. So www.choicefreestyle.com. Go to beyondwellnessradio.com or Not Just Paleo to get the transcriptions of that, so you can see the link on that.
That's great.
So we have our at-home test, like I mentioned. I talked about some of the limitations that happen in that. But the blood sugar roller coaster that most of our patients, Evan, I think we would both agree are on, it's this, if you're not at the diabetes state, which is just your blood sugar is high across the board the whole time, then we're in this reactive hypoglycemic state where we eat a meal that may be a little bit high in sugar. Our pancreas freaks out, shoots out a whole bunch of insulin, which brings that blood sugar back down, but it brings it back down a little bit too low, maybe in the low 70s, maybe in the 60s, and we get a stress response. Now, our body then comes and brings a whole bunch of cortisol and adrenaline to the table to bring that blood sugar back up. Now, again, the problem with it is you may not see it reflected on the glucose tolerance test if you test too late because, again, the adrenals and the cortisol and the adrenaline will raise that blood sugar back up, and you may not see it being raised up by the adrenals, but a lot of times you can feel it. You may feel a little bit jittery. You may feel a little bit lightheaded, a little bit flighty, a little bit hard to focus, kind of a tired but wired feeling. So you know how that feels. Everyone can think of a time where they had sugar as a kid, they were bouncing off the walls, and then they crashed.
Yeah, totally. And I drink Mountain Dew, so I know very well what that Mountain Dew crash did to me. I mean, I even have a video. I think I was like 3. It's so sad. My brain wasn't even developed. My skull was probably still soft, and here I am drinking Mountain Dew. But and then I was filmed crashed out with my blanket and my milk probably afterwards.
Wait, did you just say that you currently drink Mountain Dew?
No, I do not currently. I
Oh,
did when I was I think I was like 3 when I had my first dose of it, and I was on video camera. I think my dad filmed me at the cabin drinking Mountain Dew, and it was hilarious and awful.
I almost thought I was going to have to give you 5 paleo demerits for that one, Evan.
No, I actually did drink a soda, quote unquote, today. I have the Live Kombucha soda. Thank you, Live, for the Revive root beer. It is delicious. 9 grams of sugar, but this is the best kombucha that I've had.
Oh, that's great. Actually, because we're talking about blood sugar, we talked about the up and down. We talked about the blood sugar roller coaster. One thing that's getting super trendy are kombuchas. They're becoming like the new soda, and a lot of the kombuchas have a fair amount of sugar in them. Now, the one that you just mentioned is actually in the middle. It's not good, but it's not bad. I'll name names. Screw it. Buddha's Brew, Cosmic. There's a couple down here in Austin. They got just as much sugar as a Coke. And I'm going to do a video on this real soon. My fave is GT Dave's. I like the Gingerade. It's got 2 grams of sugar. So much
per
better.
serving.
Per
I think
serving.
it's per serving, yeah. So it's 4 grams per bottle, which is what, 16 ounces?
I think it's a little less. I think it's less than 16 ounces per bottle, right? I think it's like 12 ounces per bottle. So it's 1.5. I think it's 3 grams. I was splitting hairs there, but yeah, it's around 3 to 4 grams of sugar per bottle, right?
So about a teaspoon.
Not bad. Not
bad compared to 20 plus grams of sugar like some of the others.
Yeah, plus you can justify it. 3 to 4 grams isn't bad because you're getting ginger, which is an anti-inflammatory herb. It's a prokinetic. It helps with, gastric releasing. It helps with the lymphatic system. It's also a natural, stimulator of hydrochloric acid. It's a bitter. It's also got B vitamins in there in the drink. It's also got probiotics and lactobacillus. I think more Saccharomyces boulardii, which is great for fungus and yeast. So a lot of good benefits by drinking a conventional kombucha that's like, the GT Dave's brand is my fave, either Trilogy or Gingerade.
Yeah, as long as you're not drinking like 5 a day. I've had a couple people drinking like 5 a day, and it's a true addiction, and then you can run into some issues there with yeast. I don't have any studies or anything to prove it, but I've just seen that people that are drinking way too much have problems.
Yeah, I agree. Like yesterday, I went on my boat, and typically I'll avoid drinking alcohol, and I'll justify it to myself by buying like 2 or 3 kombuchas. So I get that good, that good feel, that good, elixir feeling that you get when you drink those kombuchas, but I can at least justify it by not having the alcohol. It's kind of my exchange, if you will.
Right. Yeah, so let's talk about controlling the blood sugar a little bit. I'm sure you were going to end up there, but I have this particular nutrient on my mind that I just wanted to talk about, and that nutrient is cinnamon. And I really love cinnamon. I add it to my smoothies. I'll do some organic blueberries, almond milk, some grass-fed whey. I'll throw some cinnamon in there, and I do that just because it tastes amazing, for one, and 2, cinnamon acts in a way as an insulin substitute, so to speak. There's a compound in there, and it's way too hard to pronounce, but it's MHCP is what it is. And it basically gives the same biological activity as insulin itself. So it basically increases the uptake of glucose by the cells, but it can stimulate glycogen synthesis as well. So, I mean, it's kind of a multifactorial little nutrient that you can really do good things with. And my wife, she'll actually add a little bit of cinnamon on top of her. She has a little reusable K-cup for the Keurig, which I'm not the biggest fan of the Keurigs because of plastic and whatever, who knows.
Yeah.
But anyway, she'll add some cinnamon on top of her coffee there and brew it. If you just try to stir in the cinnamon to the cup of coffee, it doesn't really work. But if she actually adds it on top of the grounds and then brews it, it just smells amazing. I don't really drink much coffee, but it smells amazing, and I know that it helps her blood sugar because she comes home and she didn't have to snack between breakfast, work/coffee and lunch. So that's how I know that her blood sugar is better than it used to be. She used to have like a little protein bar or something in her pocket at all times in case she needed a snack, some kind of hypoglycemia sign there. But now she's able to just kind of leave the house with just a bottle of water and be fine.
That's great. Yeah, that's really good. Like with my blood sugar stability, I do insulin. I use a Granny Smith apple at night. It's my dessert typically on most nights. I'll cut it up. I'll sprinkle it over with cinnamon and maybe have a little bit of almond butter with it. Again, Granny Smith's got about half the amount of sugar as normal apples. And then you add the cinnamon to it. That's a pretty good place to go. Again, the big tips I try to follow myself, and I just did a video on this recently. I think you had an anecdote last week where you mentioned you had a real stressful day. You had a light lunch, and then you were feeling a little bit of palpitations and anxiety, and we were thinking that it was probably blood sugar induced. Do you want to talk about that?
Totally, yeah. We were on the phone for something. I think we were talking about the microphone, but I said, I don't know what's going on. I said, I guess my blood sugar got to me again because you and I were doing the podcast, and here it was maybe 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I either had a very light lunch or I just didn't have a lunch. Maybe I had to see someone, and then I had to do a podcast, and then something. I don't know. Anyway, I was not a good 3 square meal a day eater, and my blood sugar got low, and I was feeling pretty awful. At first, kind of the fatigue, maybe the irritability, moodiness, things like that. And then when it gets to the more extreme level, at least for me, the more extreme low, that's when I start even having the anxiety, that cortisol, adrenaline feel, the fight or flight mode where I just want to, I don't know if I should run down the street or hide under a blanket, that sort of anxiety feeling. So as soon as I went and actually ate something, I don't know if I just ate some Kerrygold butter by the spoonful or what I did, but once I got that blood sugar under control, I had an immediate relief. So that's how I know that I'm still dealing with a little bit of hypoglycemia stuff myself.
Yeah, it's like one of the biggest things you can do to take stress off your adrenals is stabilize your blood sugar. So if you're under a lot of stress, I'm a big fan of eating every 4 or 5 hours. I don't necessarily like every 2 or 3. I feel like you're just pumping out too much insulin and you're not letting your body utilize ketones for fuel. So I do like the every 4 to 5 hours. I think a lot of people in the ketogenic and the low carb world, because they're spitting out so much ketones are natural appetite suppressants as well. So it's easy for them just to skip meals. But the problem is ketones aren't nutrients. Like ketones aren't like B vitamins or vitamin C or fat soluble like, DHA, EPA stuff. They aren't nutrients per se. They're a fuel source, just like sugar's a fuel source, right? But they aren't nutrients, and we need nutrients. Our body and our mitochondria and our cells run off of nutrients. So eating every 4 to 5 hours delivers the nutrients you need. And if you're under stress, your body's going to need nutrients. And if you're under stress, your body will spit out sugar via gluconeogenesis. And surprise, surprise, but gluconeogenesis is cortisol dependent. So that means you got to mobilize all this sugar or glucose via cortisol, via your adrenal glands. And that can be a problem if your adrenal glands are already a little bit stressed or if you're burning the candle at both ends.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And that's, I'd say 80% plus of the people that we see are doing that exact thing. Maybe not on purpose, but by the time they get in to see us, they're already so burnt out. Now they want to get help, and it takes time to fix this stuff. Your blood sugar didn't just go haywire overnight. It may have, but this stuff takes time, so it takes time to fix it too. But yeah, getting in, the good, even eggs, that's awesome. The kombucha we mentioned the cinnamon. You mentioned the eating frequency every 4 to 5 hours. Maybe we should talk just a little bit about more of the food side of things. People that they know every 4 to 5 hours, but I think people forget the importance of getting enough healthy fats and proteins because that is what you need. You're not going to stabilize your blood sugar by eating some type of carb or quick like Rice Krispie snack.
Yeah. One of the things that I've created that helps is called the meal matrix. And the meal matrix is just a simple list of macronutrients. It's got your proteins in one column, your carbs in another column, and your fats in the third column. And it's got herbs and spices in the second column. But your proteins are your proteins. And again, I like people eating full fat proteins, meaning not boneless, skinless chicken breast, but, if you're doing chicken breast, do it with the skin on, or do the chicken thigh, which is even better with the skin on, which is what I'm having for dinner tonight, by the way. And then you have your carbohydrate column, which I break my carbohydrates up into 3 categories. Non-starchy. Non-starchy are more of your vegetable-based carbs, high in nutrition, low in sugar. Your starchy, but safe starchy, meaning no grains. So potatoes, sweet potatoes, yucca, plantain, squash. Right? Those are our starchy ones. And then our low sugar fruits or low glycemic fruits. These are our berries, our lemon, our lime, our grapefruit, our passion fruit. These fruits they dissolve to sugar in our bloodstream slower than, let's say, our tropical variety like pineapple and watermelon and mango. As good as they are, they can be just like candy.
Oh yeah,
So,
especially the dried ones.
oh my gosh, yeah. And then the third list is the fats. So typically we're either eating a fat that's combined with the protein, or we're cooking with the fat, or we're putting fat on our veggies like coconut oil or grass-fed butter or avocado oil or good quality nuts if you're not autoimmune or you're not too sensitive, things like that. And I typically recommend starting between 3 to 6 ounces of protein per meal. And a good recommendation is anywhere between a palm size, to a fist, to a full hand. So again, bigger people, bigger hands, right? So palm's about 3 ounces. Fist is about 4, and a full hand's about 6. So I like people using body parts because you're typically up there and you can you always use that hand as a good frame of reference of when you're serving yourself some food. And the more stressed you are, the more protein you need, because protein gets utilized for neurotransmitters. It gets utilized for detoxification. And if we put it in there, it acts like a log on the fire, on that blood sugar fire. So again, logs typically last about 4 hours, 5 hours on a fire. So think about it like your metabolic fire. You want to throw that log on there so you have about 5 hours in between having to put more logs on there, logs being protein and fat. And then the carbohydrates are like the kindling, right? We need just a little bit of spark there to get things moving, and that could be some non-starchy vegetables, broccoli, asparagus, kale, spinach, etc. And depending on how insulin sensitive you are, maybe some low sugar fruit, maybe a little bit of starch. Again, I'm a big fan of backloading my carbs, doing them more at night, and then almost doing no carbs outside of the non-starchy variety during the day. So that's a good general way in which I teach my patients how to apply blood sugar stability techniques.
Good stuff. Yeah, I've also experimented with doing the carbs, like some organic white rice. I'll try that with dinner, and then I'll try it with breakfast. It doesn't work with breakfast as much, man. I crash. It's a completely different feel than if I have the rice with dinner and, say, some steak, and then I'll throw some aminos on there of some sort. I sleep way better that way, but the morning time, it's just not a good time. So I stay, I wouldn't say ketogenic, but maybe very, very low carb for morning, for breakfast time, mostly just pure fat and protein.
Yeah, I think our body is just more naturally insulin resistant in the morning. I think a lot of this has to do with the cortisol levels. So if you look at a diurnal cortisol rhythm, our cortisol is much higher in the morning and drops throughout the day. And because cortisol, it's a glucocorticosteroid, first part of that word is glucose. It helps with blood sugar stability and energy. So if we have a high amount of cortisol, then we're already going to be pumping up glucose naturally, as I just showed you on my blood sugar meter. So it makes sense if we already have that natural stimulation, don't add more fuel to that metabolic fire, so to speak.
Yeah, we don't need to add it too high, because then that may create a larger hill for you to come back down, you're saying.
Exactly. That's kind of the deal. So the diet and lifestyle part is super important. I like doing about 3 meals every 4 to 5 hours, maybe one snack in between there if we have a longer break. Like let's say some patients, they're having their lunch around noon or 1, then maybe their family gets home and out of school like around 7. So there's a 7-hour window there. So they may be a nice need for a good clean protein shake or a mini meal. I hate the word snack because snacks are typically imbalanced, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to go snack on some blueberries. You mean you're going to just throw some carbohydrate in your body? That's going to probably mess up your blood sugar if you're just throwing that without anything else in it.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I don't know how carbohydrates in general, or carbohydrates are snacks. Snacks have become carbohydrates. Like when somebody says they want a snack, I think of like pretzels and potato chips and ice cream and cookies. I don't think of, I mean, I should think of avocados and coconut oil and spoon-feeding butter, but the culture of the snack mentality has been so perpetuated by the big food marketing industry that no one even knows what the hell a good snack is.
Yeah, exactly. And again, carbohydrates are the cheapest foods out there. So it makes sense why this is the crap that's, shoved down our mouths or, to our faces on TV, right? So what are some healthy snacks? Well, one, a good clean protein shake. I like a good clean whey protein pea protein or beef protein, without any additives, some good coconut milk in there. Maybe you throw a few berries in, maybe a few berries. That's okay because we're getting some protein and fat, which kind of stabilize it out. That could be good. It could be like an Epic bar. Epic bars are great. Some good, clean, grass-fed beef jerky. That's a really good thing. Scoop of coconut oil, maybe a couple of bites of an avocado, or maybe a bite or two of your lunch that's left over. That's always good.
I know for you, dealing with autoimmunity yourself, you may stay away from corn at all. I'm not sure. Do you do corn at all?
I try to always stay away from it. I did have some last week at a restaurant, but it was confirmed to be 100% gluten-free. It was even in its own bag, and so there was no cross-contamination or anything. So if I can confirm its quality, I will indulge from time to time, like once or twice a month.
Because what I was going to say is my little guilty pleasure snack. Target, of all places, yes, Target, the store, they have the best organic blue corn chips. I feel like I may have even told you this before, but they do them the traditional way with the trace of lime and the sea salt, and it's the organic blue corn, which has more nutrients than your white or yellow corn. And anyway, Hannah, she'll come home, my wife, she'll come home, and she'll get a fat avocado, and she'll open it up and throw in some spices in there, and we'll just eat that as a snack. I mean, we'll split an avocado. There's nothing better.
Evan, that is 3 paleo demerits. No, I'm kidding. That's good. That's good. I mean, I do the Boulder chips.
Yeah,
that are
Boulder's
organic,
good. Yeah.
that are non-GMO certified, and that are cooked in the avocado oil. And I'll do that with, we'll have like some grass-fed beef in a bowl, and then we'll have some avocado that's like crushed up in a guacamole essentially with a little bit of lime and stuff. And we'll just scoop the meat on there and scoop the guacamole on there, and it's like amazing. A little bit of carbs, but you get some good quality protein and fat too.
That sounds good. I actually just got my grandparents to convert from either Lay's or Ruffles or whatever garbage it was to the Boulder chips, and they have the avocado oil. There's a sea salt and black pepper one. That's probably the one you get. That's the best one to me. And then there's an olive oil one now, but I'm guessing they cook it in olive oil, so that probably ruins it. So
yeah, I would not touch it. Last night my wife and I got so gassy. We had the some chips at Whole Food, and they were like organic, like non-GMO. They were cooked in coconut oil, so I'm like, I'm going to try this. I looked at the back, and it had just a little bit of fructose in it, and it also had a little bit of rice dextrin, so like kind of like rice starch. I'm like, why the hell do they put this crap in here? I'm like, I'll give it a try, and there was no sugar, no added sugar on the ingredients, so I'm like, it's at the very end, it's not a big deal. I tried it, and I could really taste the sweetness on the chips. And there were salt and vinegar. I'm like, well, I don't want sweet when it comes to salt and vinegar. I want that salty flavor. So I said, never again. So stay away from those chips.
Oh, why would they add fructose? That makes no sense.
Dude, I know, man. I went against my paleo intuition and said, I'll give it a try. It's a good company. It's GMO. It's organic free. I can't find a better alternative. But yeah, you got to go with that gut instinct sometimes.
Oh gosh. I can't think of a particular nutrient or food, but I've done that several times where I go to get something. I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't. And I just take a couple bites anyway. And it's like, it wasn't even worth it. Like the reptilian brain overwhelmed my prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, I think some of my blood sugar that we just tested here a few minutes ago is potentially part of the repercussions of that.
Oh, so that was yesterday.
It could be. It's possible. I'll do my blood sugar again tomorrow. And if it's better around this time of day, same kind of breakfast, then I'm going to know that it was the dinner before.
Yep. Well, did you have anything else on this food journey of blood sugar? I think we covered a lot of it, but I know there's other pieces to the puzzle that we haven't even covered, and I don't know if we have time to.
I think let's just touch upon some of the supplements. Some of the things that I use with my patients for blood sugar stability is we'll give some additional support with alpha-lipoic acid. We'll use chromium. I'll use herbs like gymnema and bitter melon. And what a lot of these nutrients are doing is they're helping with the blood sugar receptor site. It's helping with insulin receptor sensitivity. It's helping with blood sugar sensitivity. What that means is that when our body takes in blood sugar, that blood sugar comes into our bloodstream, the more insulin numb we are, the more insulin we have to make. And that's a stressor on the body. So if we have these nutrients there, what it does is it allows us to make less insulin and to pull that blood sugar into our cell and utilize it for energy better and more efficiently without this big bolus of insulin. Remember, the insulin is inflammatory. You just go into PubMed, type in hyperinsulinemia or hyperinsulin, That means high insulin in medical speak, and any disease you want, and you will find a correlation between hyperinsulin and cancer, in autoimmune conditions, in diabetes, of course. Any type of disease, you will find that connection. So those nutrients help with the receptor site sensitivity and allow your body to need to make less insulin and help your body deal with the blood sugar better. But if you're using those supplements and you're not making a diet change, it's just a Band-Aid and it's not going to work long term.
Right. And yeah, and I mean, chromium is found in foods, but some of the foods that chromium is found in, a lot of people aren't eating, like calf's liver. You have oysters, you have liver, you have onions. So a lot of people may be avoiding these. I typically don't eat onions just in general anyway. I kind of stay away from peppers and onions and things like that. So I'm probably lacking on the chromium. I personally don't eat many oysters because of it's always a balance of the ocean toxicity versus chromium.
Exactly.
It's always a toss-up for me. I'm so on the fence about the seafood issue. But anyway, so that's why I use sometimes an aqueous, a liquid chromium, and I enjoy it, and I do notice a difference. So I'm trying to think of what else I use, man. Honestly, the chromium and the cinnamon are only my two direct ways of supporting blood sugar.
Yeah, when I see patients with adrenal fatigue, we'll add a blood sugar support. They'll take one per meal because it just gives me that insurance policy that they're getting those nutrients in each meal. Because like you said, it's already hard enough to get them to eat these newer foods that are less inflammatory and better. And then now we go the extra level, and now it's like, well, it's got to have chromium in it and vanadium and all these nutrients. It just adds another layer. We forgot magnesium too, another layer of compliance. So if we can just take a pill that has those extra nutrients along with that, that's going to be a great step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I guess glutamine would be kind of my other recommendation that I almost give every person I see, just because I recommend it as sort of like a emergency reserve. Like if you're going to go eat a cookie, how about just take a capsule of glutamine and open that bad boy up and pour it into the mouth instead. And it actually tastes decent. It's one of the decently tasting amino acids compared to some of them.
I agree. The best is inositol.
I haven't had that. What's it taste like?
It tastes like sugar. It's more of a derived pseudo B vitamin, but it actually helps with blood sugar stability. So if you want a little bit of sugar feel, well, go chew on some inositol. It's a good way to help your blood sugar, but also give you a little bit of a taste. Just be careful. It's like xylitol, where it'll give you the runs if you do too much.
Really? Okay, now explain this to me if you're familiar with the myo-inositol. I've seen that, and I don't know, is that like a better bioavailable form or what?
Yeah, there's like a chiro-inositol and a myo-inositol. There's some research that it actually is very beneficial with PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a condition where females will grow excessive cysts on their ovaries. And again, there's a massive connection with PCOS and insulin, which insulin then gets connected to blood sugar. So this inositol is really helping with PCOS indirectly by helping with blood sugar. And just go Google, like I said, insulin and PCOS, and that's why the mainline therapies, glucophage or metformin, to treat it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So what are they trying to do there? They're trying to get that insulin back down to fix that PCOS?
Yeah, because the insulin's what's driving the cyst to grow. It's like the insulin is like the food for the cyst, so to speak. And then the insulin then causes the female's estrogen to go downstream to testosterone. And that's why you start to see with that whole sequelae of, extra hair along the jawline, thickening of hair, thickening of follicles, things like that. You'll just see changes in women. It's like this cruel joke. When we have high levels of insulin in the body, women become more like men, and men become more like women with, the gynecomastia and the breast tissue and all that stuff. So it's this shift in sexuality, if you will,
That's incredible.
by our hormones with just hyperinsulinism.
Wow. So this is probably a topic for an entire episode, but
yeah.
I had always seen stuff about like high estrogen being a cause for, or maybe a cause or a symptom or something that's correlated with PCOS. So is it kind of those two together? Is it high insulin and high estrogen, like estrogen dominant state, that's causing that PCOS, or is that just kind of a side effect and the insulin's really the biggest culprit there?
Well, again, this is going to be a combination of the two. A lot of times when we have estrogen dominance, we may not have high levels of estrogen, so to speak, but we may have high levels of estrogen in relationship to progesterone. So because progesterone can go downstream to cortisol, and cortisol connects with this because it's stabilizing blood sugar. So the more you're taking your meals and eating a whole bunch of sugar, the more you're taking your progesterone downstream, and it's going to convert down to cortisol. And if you're in the second half of your cycle, that luteal phase, that's the phase where you're more prone for PMS, right? Day 15 to 27 of your cycle. So if the first day of your period's day 1, day 15 to 27 is where your luteal phase is. And if you're eating too much sugar right there, you are setting the stage up for some nasty PMS because that cortisol is draining all of your healthy progesterone.
Interesting. So someone could be really messing themselves up from kind of a multi-level thing here if they have excess stress in the form of emotional stress, for example, but also the nutritional stress where maybe they're skipping meals, and when they are eating meals, they're having too much carbohydrate, therefore driving up the insulin, likely suffering from blood sugar crashes, which is then elevating cortisol, which is then, you're saying, it's taking away from the progesterone because the progesterone's not able to do its job because it's needing to go downstream to create cortisol, and therefore estrogen just has no gatekeeper, no regulator, I guess. Is that the way to put it?
Yeah, it's just the ratio starting to go get skewed. And again, there are estrogen issues because we are just flooded with xenoestrogens in our environment, right? With our plastics, and you mentioned the whole the coffee thing that your wife does there. That's got an extra plastic in it. You mentioned all the pesticides are estrogen based. The receipts that you get at Whole Foods, right? There's a coating of BPA on there on the ink, so you got to fold those up and don't touch your fingers to it. So lots of different things in our environment are giving us these extra estrogens. So you got to be careful of that.
Right. So that progesterone, that's typically always, you're not going to have enough in the modern world a lot of times compared to the amount of estrogen that's out there. We're just in an estrogen-filled world.
Yeah, we just got to have our detoxification pathways working well. Eat organic food. Go exercise and sweat. The solution to pollution is dilution, according to Robert Rakowski. Again, drinking water is going to help your body get some of those hormones out. And again, your detox pathways run with amino acids. Don't forget that. We need aminos to run those detox pathways. And all of these toxins, they screw up the blood sugar receptors. They make us more insulin resistant.
And remind people where they get aminos.
Well, aminos, your best sources are going to be animal-based proteins because they're going to be higher in a sulfur amino acid profile. And if we're going to do a powder base, your next best is going to be a good quality whey protein that's grass-fed or a good quality beef protein that's grass-fed.
Yep, and you're also helping with detox there. You can increase your glutathione level, your master antioxidant, with some grass-fed whey. So if that's not in your supplement cabinet, I'd get some in there.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to add, Evan?
No, that's it. This has been a great overview, and it's fun. Fun as always.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to our last podcast together. We're ripping off, thousands by the day, and I just really want the listeners to just get as much out of it. So if they have questions for us, let us know. And if you're enjoying the show, give us feedback. We love feedback. It's what gets us out of bed in the morning and motivates us to do these shows.
Yes, sir.
Evan, thanks a lot, man.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to beyondwellnessradio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.